I am Thrag, bred to be the Grand Regent of the Viltrum Empire. I was created to rule. I was given power, and fury, and strength, and rage to lead, to conquer, to kill!
Everybody please welcome Thrag to the stage, Lee Pace!
Hello Invincible fans, fellow Mudbeards, and anyone else who's really excited for Season 4 of Invincible. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're just going to be talking about some of the hype leading into Season 4, and what a perfect casting choice it was to make Lee Pace Grand Regent Thrag. Fans of fantasy or sci-fi fantasy will know Lee Pace from either the Hobbit movies as a leader of an elven kingdom, or as a Grand Galactic Emperor in the series Foundation. Either way, Lee Pace is pretty adjusted to playing leaders who have a knack for violence. And while some of his fight scenes in movies like The Hobbit may have been filled with a bit more flair, if you've ever seen Foundation, you can know that he could play a fight scene pretty well.
The Emperor's peace. It is the promise of the Imperium. I will be the Cleon who chose peace. Watch this. Threaten the peace and pay a dear price.
I fucking love it.
Not without wounds and scars. We are taking the planet. Our world will live on.
Lee Pace is able to bring not only the charisma and gravitas it would take to be sort of a ruler of a giant faction or kingdom, but he can also bring a lot of wrath to his performances. Either way, it solidifies the fact that the show keeps finding the perfect fits for a lot of these voice roles. And I actually think Thrag is the perfect villain for Mark to take on. Because Mark, at this point in the story, I believe has finally sort of found his footing in regards to what he's exactly fighting for. For several seasons now, we've seen him come into his own as a superhero, and battle with morality and figuring out what's right and what's wrong. Him balancing the principles he set up in the traumatizing aftermath in the fight with his dad became a handicap at some point that he did resolve in Season 3, vowing to instead utilize violence whenever he needs to if it means protecting those he loves. So while each season, Mark gets a new antagonist to sort of break down a new layer or foundation he's built up for himself when he was younger, I believe that Mark is finally ready to head into these confrontations with enough confidence that they won't be able to break him down fundamentally afterwards. As Mark is kind of caught up on all the happenings and goings on around Earth, his potential allies and his potential threats, and who the big bad evil guys in space that he has to take care of are. So you'd think there'd be no chance he'd have the rug pulled from underneath him for yet another time. Well, unfortunately for Thrag's case, I believe Mark is actually in for some more trauma or character development. But why is Thrag such a potential threat? Well, if you don't want any spoilers, feel free to click away from this and check out my other Invincible videos. But if you don't mind spoilers, Thrag is essentially the leader of the Viltrum Empire. But he's not necessarily the rightful leader. See, after the great betrayal of the old Viltrum leader by Thaddeus, not that one, this one, the Viltrumites attempted to find the heirs of said emperor to hopefully get a replacement going. But unfortunately, they were hidden so well that they resorted to a sort of culling to figure out who the strongest was to be capable of leading everyone. This culling ended in Thrag taking the reins and leading the Viltrumites to a new age. An age led by strength and dominance. And when the Scourge virus had wiped out most of the Viltrumites, Thrag was the one that held things together. This essentially leads Thrag to being someone who may not be the rightful ruler, but feels he's definitely earned his place taking on the mantle of leading the Viltrumites. So if Conquest is the perfect embodiment of the average Viltrumite's rage and loneliness, then Thrag is the perfect multi-dimensional leader we need to show us just what sort of confidence you would need to lead so many bloodthirsty strong individuals, but also small glimpses of the same bloodthirsty violence himself. Again, if you've watched the Foundation series, you'll know Lee Pace handles that really well, considering he not only plays one ruler of the Galactic Empire, but at this point 25. And while they are all clones of each other, the show makes it a very distinct point that none of them have the same emotions or act the same way depending. They may resemble each other's emotions and feelings, but each Cleon really does make their own name for themselves, with each generation of Cleon diverging farther from the original. Meaning, while we see Cleon the First being this uptight, pristine leader who was down to sabotage several other warring planets, down the line of the genetic dynasty, eventually you get a Cleon like who we refer to as Brother Dude. Someone who really could care less about political affairs and just wants to puff mushroom spores all day. My point in reiterating all this is that Lee Pace has range. And while he will be a solid addition to the next season, I still think the powerhouse performances are mostly going to be with the cast we already have established. Each season, they tend to find a new and fresh way to really utilize these voice actors and their talents, with I think the last episode of Season 3 being my favorite in regards to performances. Steven Yeun continues to kill it as Mark Grayson, and considering I've been a fan of him since The Walking Dead, it's crazy to see that this is somehow a much better role for him. Mainly because The Walking Dead did not give his character the type of development Mark Grayson is getting, let alone provide Steven Yeun the scenes that could display his range properly. No, I'd say Season 4 of Invincible is going to be one of its biggest, and I'm very excited to see how Lee Pace fits in with the rest of the cast. While I never would have expected Jeffrey Dean Morgan to play Conquest of all people, Lee Pace's Thrag actually makes perfect sense in my mind.
It was an accident, but he made me do it. I didn't want to kill him. I had to. I had no other choice. I wouldn't even keep you as a slave in my empire!
Go! Destroy everything in your path! Make them see Invincible! Make them fear Invincible! Make them hate!
You were given orders, and yet I find this planet unprepared for the arrival of our Viltrum Empire.
Viltrumite heart!
Show me your power!
Show me your rage!
This has been an immense joy. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how fast you are. I can see the future. You don't live to see tomorrow.
Either way, what do you guys think? Are you excited for Season 4 of Invincible? How do you think the story is going to go? And which character's performance are you most excited to see play out? Either way, thank you for your support, appreciate your feedback, and remember, Thrag may be tough, but he's no Rexplode.